Hello everybody, back again. Lake Station Community Advocate and Educator here. Hopefully I educated you the last time on sales tax and some things in the cities. Well, I'm gonna pick up where I left off, and this is pretty much where I left off. Is I was kind of explaining that sales tax is like this very seductive tool that is used, and a lie that is often told with it is, well, we're all together in this. We're doing great, and oh, we're all giving our pennies and cents and here and there, but in reality, what's actually happening with that funds? Where's it going? And our administrators, I'll guarantee you, because no city does it, they're not obsessive about their accounting. I will guarantee you that. But let me pick up where I left off. So let's say you're willing to make $1 million liability that's going to be due in the next 30 years. Like maintaining a road, and I can easily get $10,000 in tax sales today, though. Okay, that's not difficult. Anybody can pull that off. Yet when you track and report the amount of sales tax and collect right now, what are you really actually doing? And so, at the very least, you're lying to yourself. And at the worst side of it, your administrators are probably deceiving your entire community that they're sworn to serve. And so that's one thing. And understand that local government is the lowest level of government. Not that it's bad, but the largest or the highest level of collaboration for citizens should be working to build a great place, and it should be working cohesively between those two systems. However, it doesn't work that way, because you always get, well, if you want to change something, why don't you run for a seat? So hopefully everybody understands the collaboration between city officials, the way that they should be very obsessively paying attention to accounting and making great decisions, and getting the community and residents involved. But like I said, the lowest level of government is local government, and one of the highest level of collaboration that should be happening is between the residents and the lowest level of government to build a really great place. Now, they always say, yes, we are. That's what we've done. That's what we've been working towards. But their ultimate goal is to find taxes so they pay off the debt. But there's no tax system, any local tax system, that will undermine the relationship between the residents and City Hall more than sales tax. Because the way that sales tax actually devalues property and it devalues people, except for the fact that we are consumers, right? So when we go to another town, there's sales tax, and all that stuff. But for some things that are good is when new people move into town, when, simple cost of the community can actually save some money. However, there's always leaders in an effort to secure more sales tax revenue. That's their ultimate goal. That's just what they want. Now, sales tax really falters and fails to stay in line in the interest of our local government officials and how they do things. And the optimum outcome for any local city or town or any of that for the administration to rely on the sales tax is just for residents to spend money prolifically. Now, when they run out, guess what happens? They got to start borrowing money, start pulling money from their capital or from their rainy day funds to their capital, or whatever the case is. They start creating a hole. And if you remember anything, with integers, when you have sand, you dig a hole. That sand you took out was a positive. The hole you left is a negative. So if you're taking from your savings and you're putting into your capital, well, there's some sort of negative there, right? And so that's what's happening with a lot of sales tax. Okay? And when a household is broke, they move out, they make way for somebody else to come in, and the same process starts all over again. Now, it is such a burden to city officials to house and housing and people, and what a burden, right? It brings such a amount of sales tax revenue that they're just like, yeah, let's just do what we need to blow the money, because they're in that that mind frame of a predictable pattern of we're always going to have sales tax coming in. It's always going to be that great. But it actually doesn't work that way. And that's why a lot of cities and towns throughout the country got into a really big problem, was because that didn't happen during COVID. And that's what really stopped up a lot of things. So the better to encourage like people on fixed incomes with frugal minds, basically, with the way that they live frugally, meaning to save money at every avenue they possibly can. Then I cater to those who spend in free ways. And it's good because you want your residents to be able to save money, because when they save money, they have more tax money, they have more ability to buy things in town, they have more ability that when referendums come along, they're really not questioning, they're like, hey, yeah, let's do this. But when you continue to seethe money from your residents like that, you keep them broke, and eventually the game that was played for so many years catches up to you. And it shows in the finances, and it shows in the way that things are being done without your town. Again, we spoke about that with, inventing the 4 ways that you can, things can be corrected in balances. However, it could still be wrong, even if the books say that they're balanced and are truly not. And so that's something that we all need to be partaking in, and we all need to be paying attention. And a lot of times, cities and city officials who are very reliant on sales tax and property taxes find it very hard to be any somewhat concerned about any long-term implications. They don't even think about it, because that is the cognitive discounting that does that. It's looking at the immediate results instead of looking down the road, 10 years, 12 years, whatever the case is. So they never really look at what comes down the road. They look at what's right in front of them, which is okay to an extent. Because, if you're struggling and you're straining to be proper with finances in town, you're going to want immediate changes, because you're going to want to hurry up and hold that seat. You're going to want to make changes that the people will be happy with. You want to bring in grocery stores. You want to bring in the dollar stores. You want to bring in all this stuff for corporate taxes and la. But none of that means anything if you're not keeping obsessive with your finance and your accounting. And when you're not, it shows. And unfortunately, our community a lot lately has been showing that that's not true, that they have not been doing that. But government revenue, which you sneak in some property taxes through a referendum, and we all hear that. This is what I just said. Sneak in some property taxes through a referendum process, and that adds the distortion of how sales tax creates problems within the decision-making processes. Get what I'm saying? So when it comes to referendums and things like that, they can sneak those property taxes, as we just did, because they're filling voids and holes, and none of the money is going to be going where it goes to because of the debts from yesteryear. So I hope this helps. I'm the Lake Station Community Advocate and Educator. I hope that you've learned something other than my blabbling. But I'm on Lake Station Strong Towns Collective on Facebook, Lake Station Strong Local Conversations. Be sure to be engaged and involved in your city's finances and find out what's going on. And look at your local Board of Accounts or your Department local government of finances. Look at those. You will find a lot of information on there it's factual. It's what they got to turn in from the city to the state and the county. Those are very factual things. So take a look at that. Be sure to have some integrity and hold your city administrators accountable, some transparency with the accounting, and don't let them feed you the line of whatever. Be sure to be an eagle, don't be a crow. Challenge the status quo, and until next time, people.